to draw the line in the sand against tyranny. It is the states that have the authority under our Constitution, and listen, ladies and gentlemen, under God's authority, to stand in the gap for freedom and liberty and to defend the rights and the natural law rights of the people of those states. And we have come to the point in history when, if our states will not step up to the plate and deliver freedom for their people, it will not happen. Only the states have the power and the authority, the opportunity to do what must be done to preserve our freedoms. That's where you come in.
Thank God for Arizona.
I agree. Thank God for Arizona. And I want to say more than that. I thank God for Montana. It was the state of Montana that first passed the Firearms Freedom Act. It was the state of Montana that said to the federal government, when Montana joined the Union in 1889, we did so with the understanding and the agreement that the federal government recognized the right of the people to keep and bear arms. And should you, in the federal government, at the Supreme Court level, with the Heller decision, at the legislative level, or at the executive level, if you ever decide that we, the people of Montana, no longer have the right to keep and bear arms, we, the state of Montana, will consider our contract with you, the federal government, to be null and void. The state of Montana that pinned that State Firearms Freedom Act, and I'm proud of my son Tim Baldwin, who is a constitutional attorney, who is a co-counsel with these great folks here in Montana that are pushing forward with that legislation since it's been passed in Tennessee, and there are other states in the Union that are also taking up the cause. In fact, I can tell you right now there is a legislator in the state of Georgia that, as we speak, is trying to get a piece of legislation through the assemblage there in Georgia that takes the principles of the Firearms Freedoms Act a step further. And I like this, and I encourage the folks in Montana to do the same thing, because what he did in his bill, he said, look, if a firearm is manufactured in Montana, and if it is sold in Montana, and if it's purchased in Montana, then it's exempt from the Interstate Commerce Clause of the Constitution, and the laws and restrictions of the federal government have no bearing upon this transaction. But what's good for firearms, he says, is good for every other product. Therefore, anything made in Georgia, anything sold in Georgia, anything bought in Georgia is also exempted from the dictates of the federal government. And that bill is in Georgia right now. This movement that Mona talked about a few moments ago, and that she's such an intricate part of here in this part of the country, is more than just Tea Party. It's more than just Republican. It's more than just throwing the bums out. What we're talking about is a return to constitutional government. The states that have the power to elect a governor that will draw the line in the sand. It is the states that have sheriffs in those counties, in that state, the highest law enforcement official in that county, that have the authority to stand up on behalf of the people of his county and defend the rights and the freedoms of the people of his county, even in defiance of federal law enforcement agents when they overstep their God-ordained authority. And thank God for Sheriff Mack, and thank God for Joe Arpaio down in Arizona. But again, these are state issues, and it is the state authority, it is the state autonomy, the state independence that has the power to draw the line in the sand. And I really believe that Montana is at the tip of the spear in this movement. You may not know how fortunate you are, those of you that were born here and raised here and lived here all your life. You may not realize that this state, perhaps more than any other state, is at the tip of the spear of freedom and independence and liberty in a way that I'm not sure any other state can replicate. I see a movement of freedom here that I have not sensed anywhere else that I've gone. And I've traveled from the East Coast to the West and from the border of Canada to the border of Mexico. I've seen it all. And there's something happening in Montana that I pray will grow and burgeon to an avalanche, that other states will be infected with this wonderful spirit of freedom and liberty, and that it will grow and mushroom into an army of dedicated men and women to the cause of liberty, so much so that all of the forces of D.C. and hell itself could not stop. Amen. That these folks in D.C. don't understand is very simple. They don't understand what America is all about. Our nation's birth certificate says these words: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." Did Jefferson not understand that people are different in intelligence, education, physical ability? Was he naively suggesting that every person is equal in station or in their physical ability to do, or their mental acumen, or whatever it might be? Of course not. When he said that all men are created equal, he was referring to the laws of nature and nature's God that he just mentioned in paragraph 1. That all men have been created by God in the image of God. Meaning that God has given to us His creative handiwork, the natural laws and rights that emanate from God Himself. We are not free men and women because the Constitution says we are. We are not free men and women because the Declaration of Independence says we are. We are free men and women because we were given that right and freedom at our creation.